Good morning from Montrose Oldham St Andrew's Church, and welcome to our short thought for the day. Perhaps things can become too familiar to us that we take them for granted and fail to appreciate them. That's particularly hurtful if it isn't things we take for granted, but people. Relationships are so important, and sadly, when we're all under so much pressure, on top of the unprecedented restrictions and health worries that we've had to put up with for over 2 years now, it's very easy to simply take one another for granted without properly acknowledging how much others mean to us, never mind honouring them and loving them. I'd like us to have a brief but fresh look at the parable of the lost son. The one where one boy asks for his share of his inheritance up front. He goes away, spends it all, wastes it really, and ends up with nothing, barely able to scrape an existence. He comes to his senses, decides his father's hired workers fared much better, and returns home to ask his father for a job rather than be accepted as his son. His father gives him an exceptional welcome, laying on a feast for him and treating him as having returned from the dead. The older brother was seriously peeved, felt rejected and taken advantage of, and refuses to share in the rejoicing. The assurance from his father that he'd been loved all along doesn't appear to have comforted him. He has a point, but there's more to it than simply, "It's not fair." On this Mother's Day, I can't help wondering, had their mother been around, and I always assumed that she died, whether the relationships among father and sons might have been far less strained. It is easy to jump to conclusions, to side with the younger son who, for all his rebelliousness, turned back to his father and wanted to change his ways. Or with the older son, who feels he's been unfairly treated and sidelined. Sometimes he has been criticised in church circles for being proud and self-righteous. There is a danger there even for us today, but actually, I believe Jesus told parables like this one to make us think, to reflect, and to respond. Not to take sides, but to learn from the story and to make any necessary changes. I suspect there are elements to be gained from each character. Dangers of greed and materialism, of self-indulgence from the wayward son, and yes, yet also an openness to see our faults, to recognise our need for help, for forgiveness, and a readiness to change. In the older brother, seeing dangers of pride, too much reliance on our efforts, looking down on others, thinking that we have right on our side and don't need forgiveness. And yet, perhaps a respect too for his loyalty and hard work, even if he misunderstood his father's motives. And perhaps from the father, an open-handed welcome back, a readiness to forgive, out of love for his son whom he thought he'd lost. But also a reminder that we have to work at relationships and not assume. Perhaps he could have related better to the older son. And going forward, what happened to the three of them? The Bible doesn't tell us. But going forward for us, there's certainly plenty to think about here, plenty to act on too. Thanks for joining us. May the Lord bless you. Amen.